What if history wasn't just something you read, but something you could travel through? Moments where a single decision, a single invention, or a single idea reshaped how humans think, rule, fight, heal, and survive. Today, we journey through time, not following kings or wars, but the pivotal moments that quietly rewired civilization itself. In the sprawling cities of ancient Babylon, life was governed by the unpredictable currents of power. Justice was a whisper, a fleeting judgment delivered by priests or kings, often changing with their mood. For the common person, security was a mirage, and the rules of society were as shifting as the desert sands. Power spoke through whim and memory, a system where favor could be granted and ruin delivered without reason or recourse. It was a world crying out for certainty, for a foundation upon which a civilization could truly be built. Until one king, Hammurabi, dared to carve justice into stone. He commissioned a monumental stele of black basalt, nearly 7.5 feet tall, and erected it in a public square for all to see. This was not a hidden scroll for the elite, it was a declaration. Hammurabi's code marked humanity's first major step away from arbitrary rule, towards something radical, a system of law. For the first time, laws were public, permanent, and unavoidable. Its 282 edicts covered everything from commerce and property disputes to family law and professional standards. While its principles of retribution, an eye for an eye, seem harsh to us now, they represented a profound leap forward, the idea of proportional justice. The punishment, for the first time, was designed to fit the crime. Society moved from the uncertainty of spoken tradition to the enduring clarity of written accountability. The stone itself was a promise of stability. Centuries later, in a different cradle of civilization, the city of Athens, a new kind of conflict emerged. Here, in the birthplace of democracy, the battle was not for the rule of law, but for the freedom of the mind. A philosopher, known for his relentless questioning and his refusal to accept easy answers, was put on trial. He was sentenced to die. Not for violence, not for treason, but for thinking differently and encouraging others to do the same. His accusers charged him with corrupting the youth and impiety, but his true crime was challenging the comfortable assumptions of the powerful. Offered a choice between exile and silence, or death, Socrates chose death over silence. He argued that the unexamined life is not worth living, and to cease his questioning would be a betrayal of his own soul and a disservice to the state he sought to improve. This moment, the quiet lifting of a cup of hemlock, immortalized the eternal clash between individual conscience and state authority. It posed a question that would echo through the ages. Does a society's stability depend on conformity or on its courage to tolerate dissent? By choosing his fate, Socrates became the first and most profound martyr for free thought, proving that an idea, once unleashed, could be more powerful than any law or any army. His legacy was not written in stone, but in the minds of all who would later dare to question. The struggle for justice took another turn over a millennium later, on a muddy field at Runnymede, England. Here, the conflict was not with a philosopher, but with a king. King John, whose reign was marked by disastrous wars and punitive taxes, had pushed his barons to the breaking point. They rose in rebellion, not to overthrow him, but to constrain him. On that damp meadow, something unprecedented occurred. A king, believed to rule by divine right, was forced to affix his seal to a document admitting he was not above the law. The Magna Carta, or Great Charter, was initially a practical solution to a political crisis. But within its clauses lay a revolutionary principle: that even a monarch was subject to the rule of law. It established that free men could not be imprisoned or stripped of their property without a proper legal process. This fragile document, written on a single sheet of parchment, planted the seed of constitutional government. It was a direct challenge to the very idea of absolute power. Though many of its specific clauses were later repealed or revised, its symbolic power only grew. It became a touchstone for future generations, a foundational text for those who would fight for liberty, justice, and the rights of the individual against the overreach of the state. From a stone pillar in Babylon, to a philosopher's final stand in Athens, to a sealed charter in an English field, these were not just isolated moments in history. They were crucial links in a chain of ideas, a slow, arduous, and often bloody evolution in human thought. Each event built upon the last, forging the foundational concepts of our modern world, that law should be public, that thought should be free, and that power must have limits. These systems of order and ideals of freedom created the framework for what was to come. They were the intellectual bedrock upon which future revolutions would be built. From carved law and tested conscience to ideas printed, flown and split, the leaps begin. Before Gutenberg, knowledge moved at the speed of a hand. Each book was a singular masterpiece, a lifetime of labor for a dedicated scribe, chained to a lectern in a quiet monastery. Information was a rare treasure, hoarded by the powerful, accessible only to the privileged few. The world of ideas was small, whispered from one scholar to another. Then, in a workshop in Mainz, a goldsmith combined a wine press with metal letters. After him, it moved at the speed of ideas. Suddenly, a single text could be replicated 1,000 times, perfectly and affordably. Movable type shattered information monopolies and ignited literacy, science, and revolution. It fueled the Renaissance, enabled the Reformation, and laid the tracks for the scientific revolution. For the first time, knowledge had mass. It became a shared foundation upon which new worlds could be built. Centuries later, another leap redefined the very concept of place. For millennia, humanity was bound to the earth, our horizons defined by the ground beneath our feet. We dreamed of flight, sketching impossible machines and watching birds with envy. The sky was a realm of gods and myths, forever beyond our grasp. Then, on a cold December morning at Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville Wright, American aviation pioneers credited with inventing, building and flying the world's first successful powered, sustained and controlled airplane for 12 seconds, humanity defied gravity. And nothing was ever the same again. That brief, sputtering journey across the sand wasn't just a mechanical triumph, it was a cognitive one. It proved the impossible was merely a problem of engineering. Flight collapsed distances, reshaping warfare, trade and global culture. The world shrank. Continents that were once an arduous voyage apart became mere hours away. We began to see our planet not as a patchwork of isolated nations, but as a single, interconnected sphere. But as our tools grew more powerful, so did their potential for destruction. The next great leap wouldn't conquer distance, but the very fabric of matter itself. In a New Mexico desert, under the codename Trinity, humanity unlocked a terrifying truth: the power to destroy itself. The first atomic blast was more than an explosion. It was the dawn of a new, terrifying age. It introduced a fundamental paradox. Our greatest intellectual achievement had given us the means of our own extinction. The nuclear age transformed geopolitics, fear, and diplomacy forever. A new kind of power was born, one based not on conquering territory, but on the threat of total annihilation. It created a fragile peace, a long peace held in balance by the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. The shadow of the mushroom cloud would loom over the rest of the 20th century, shaping every alliance, every conflict, every child's nightmare. When tools change, minds change. Our inventions are not just external objects, they are extensions of ourselves that in turn reshape our consciousness. From movable type to moving wings to splitting atoms, each leap recoded our civilization. One gave us a shared mind, one gave us a shared world, and one gave us a shared fate. These relics are not just artifacts of the past, they are the source code of the present, reminding us that every new tool brings with it a new way of being. Two worlds collided, not just with ships but with crops, animals, ideas, and diseases. Imagine a world without tomatoes in Italy, chocolate in Switzerland, or potatoes in Ireland. Now, rewind to 1492, the year Columbus's voyage didn't just connect two continents, but fused two separate worlds. This was the Columbian Exchange, a biological Big Bang where plants, animals, microbes, and cultures began a relentless permanent swap between the old world and the new. It was a revolution on a plate that reshaped diets, fueled empires, and redrew the very map of life on Earth. It is the reason our world, and our dinner tables, look the way they do today. This exchange reshaped ecosystems, economies, and populations on a global scale. Concrete cracked. So did an ideology. It was more than concrete crumbling. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 wasn't just the end of a physical barrier, it was the explosive finale to the Cold War's great ideological divide. In a single euphoric night, a symbol of oppression became one of liberation, as thousands from East and West met in a historic embrace. This wasn't merely a German moment, it was a global pivot, signaling the collapse of empires and the redrawing of the world map. The sound of chisels on concrete was the sound of history turning a page. The fall of the wall symbolized the collapse of the Cold War divide in Europe. With one book, humanity's origin story changed forever. Before Charles Darwin published On the Origin of Species in 1859, the story of life was largely seen as fixed and unchanging, a grand design set in stone from the beginning of time. Species were considered permanent, each created for its specific place in the world. But Darwin, drawing on decades of meticulous observation from his voyage on the HMS Beagle and his studies back home, proposed a radical new theory. He saw a world not of static creation, but of constant, dynamic change. A world driven by a simple yet powerful mechanism: natural selection. Darwin redefined life itself, shifting explanation from divine design to natural process. This idea, that all life is connected through a shared ancestry, branching and evolving over immense spans of time, was a profound revolution in thought. Understanding life reshaped how we see ourselves, not as exceptions, but as participants in evolution. Nearly a century later, another revolution unfolded, this time on a microscopic scale. It began not with a theory, but with a fortunate accident in a London laboratory. A stray mold spore drifted onto a petri dish, and where it landed, the surrounding bacteria died. Alexander Fleming's discovery of penicillin unlocked the power of antibiotics. For the first time in history, death from infection was no longer inevitable. A simple cut, a common illness, or the aftermath of surgery no longer carried the same mortal threat. Antibiotics transformed medicine, surgery, and survival itself. They became the silent guardians of public health, underpinning everything from routine dental work to complex organ transplants. The age of antibiotics saved countless lives, turning once deadly battlefields and disease-ridden wards into places of recovery and hope. It was a monumental shift in our relationship with the unseen world of pathogens. And with antibiotics, we changed the odds, for a time, against the unseen. These two breakthroughs, one of the mind and one of medicine, fundamentally altered the human condition. They revealed our deep connection to the natural world, while also giving us a powerful new tool to navigate its dangers. History doesn't move only through wars and empires, but through ideas, inventions, and moments where humanity chose a new path. These relics are silent, but their echoes still shape our lives today. This is Rise and Relic, where the past explains the present,